All right, everybody, welcome back. Nemager here, and today we're going over the new game mode that was entered into the game this morning, and it is the Champion Proving Grounds, the new dungeon, which I believe lasts forever, even though there is a timer above it. I believe that indicates the rotation of the champion. So this new game mode comes with a few new things. There is a reward track on the bottom, and at the moment, 27 stages to clear through. Getting 3 stars clears the rewards track, and if you clear the rewards track, you end up getting some accessories and such. This is only part 1 of 3. I'm not sure if I can even see the rest of the parts. At the moment, I'm clicking on stuff and it does not appear to let me. So this is where you get the special accessories. And what are the special accessories? Well, they are accessories that have different stats on them than substats. So I think I won one within the first few stages that I did. So let's see if I can pull them up. I have no clue if it looks different. I have no clue if there's any indication on it of where it's from. So this is going to be quite annoying, I would imagine. Maybe we can search the substats for any of these. So here they are. Here's the new ones. You get these new sets that instead of having the typical substats, they can have these PvE or PvP damage pluses and minuses. Now, the damage plus is pretty obvious in PvE. You will be doing damage plus 1.25%. Now, you might think the PvP damage is some sort of trade-off, but as far as I am aware, this is actually the damage reduction if it says a minus. So in PvP, you will take 1.25% less damage. Now, what does the math behind all of this mean? In general, I talked to some people that are a little bit more privy to the information on damage behind the calculation that we kind of see. So one of the things I brought up was my attack ring that I have, and I said, hey, I've got an attack ring that has a lot of damage added to it. So 41% damage, that's a lot of attack. Is 5% PvE damage better than that? The answer was yes. So what I gathered was about 30% increase attack, again, for a champion that has roughly 1600 base, which is in the average, but maybe higher range. 30% attack is about a 480 attack add-on. If you have like a decently high attack build, that gives you like 2.5-3% more damage. So the 5%, if you get a few rolls in PvE or PvP damage, is going to outweigh the similar rolls or even less rolls on that multiplier. So from what I can tell, they seem worth it if you are going to be approaching them from that route in terms of comparing the exact damage. So they are good to earn. You will want them, and they do seem to be better than the typical just general ring that you can earn. Obviously, they've surely done the math behind the scenes and made it so these are better. Otherwise, if you're getting triple rolls on rings for attack and they just end up being worse than the rolls that you're getting on these new ones, or better than the rolls you're getting on these new ones, it would make no sense at all. So that's what they've done. I've gone my first few battles here. In terms of the multiplier, this is a little bit of an interesting system. This is the part where I really don't like it. There is a personal leaderboard where you're going to be trying to face and get as many points as you can. You can see other people's teams that they're using, so not really going to be hiding much information in there in terms of teams that you're using. Two things that appear to affect the scoring system, which I don't think is available, potentially can be data mined, but the two things we've found so far working with my clan that affect the scoring system are the power of your team and the amount of turns that you take. In addition, you have these multipliers on your score, which are based on a primary pool of champions, which gives a 9 times multiplier, a secondary pool of champions, which gives a 1.5% times multiplier, and then you can see the next rotation as well. That'll be coming for the next session, which I guess is in 3 weeks and 6 days. Part that I don't like about this is not a large pool. This is not a pool of like old school champs that you're going to get to use and some interesting stuff. This is just, hey, here's all the champs from the previous event. I think that sucks. not only do you have to have done the entire previous event, so you have to do all the guaranteeds, which people probably did. A lot of people did skip the Hagaba fusion, but you can still do it with the rest of the champions that you might have gotten. The part for me is like, this doesn't seem very fun. I'm using champions that I just got, which I probably already used. I want to open up my roster. I want to be challenged to think. This is just, how many 9 times multiplier champions can I get in the pool to get the most out of the system? I think it's kind of backwards. I don't think this incentivizes fun gameplay. From all the teams I'm seeing, it's literally just throw as many of these in there, and then a horse or other damage dealer that you can throw in there to deal the amount of damage that you want. Theoretically, if you wanted the maximum tier of points, you're throwing 5 people in here. The one thing that I've seen is there appears to be some sort of cap on the amount of points you earn for player power. I had a team go in that was mostly ungeared except for my damage dealer, so it was like, we'll check right here. Mostly ungeared, so it was like 470k power. And then I ran it and I got about 21,000 couple hundred points. I then fully geared the team, focusing on power, so high resistance, crit rate, HP, some damage stats in there. I got 900k power, and my points only went up by like a couple hundred. So it's enough to move a needle in a close race, but this is not thousands of points you're getting for player power. It is simply just appears to be capped, or there's a big curve that drops off or plateaus as you get higher power. Same thing for team turns taken. This right here, you can see my average with the same team, same power. 21,900, 21,400, 22,400. These are all within about 1,000 of each other. This one right here is my lowest because it's the most turns that I took on stage 4. I'm not sure if it'll tell me in the leaderboard right here. Oh, okay, well, I took 113. So it looks like I quadrupled the amount of turns, but I had only a loss of maybe like 2,000. So it looks like the lower you can get your turns, it will boost your score potentially a decent amount. Throwing from 24 to 20 here seemed, with on the same team, same power, seemed like it added about 500 points. So the lower you can go, potentially into like the 10 to 15 turn range, might increase your points by about 1,000 or more. 5 turn different here is about 500, so maybe 100 points a turn. However, it drops off that the points you're losing drop off dramatically, because from 20 to 113, we're not losing 100 points a turn. At a certain point, it's plateauing again, and we only end up losing maybe like 1,000 in total compared to what we could have gotten with a higher turn. So again, the system focused on player power, focused on turns, but it is pretty forgiving. If you're in the tightest of races at the top of the leaderboard, that's when you probably want to focus on really low turns and really high power. If you are comfortably within like a couple thousand ahead, or the other person's couple thousand ahead, it doesn't appear that player power and turns are going to make much of a difference. So I want to show the strategy I've been using. I used it for all the stages so far. I'm going to continue using it for every single stage that I can, and we'll see when it plateaus. The first 4 stages I was able to clear. I'm 2 stages behind because I wasn't able to do my runs when the game mode first came out before a reset. The tokens up here that you get 3 of these red tokens. They let you challenge new stages, so you can see right here I don't have enough proving keys. The purple tokens, which again you get 3 every single day, they let you rebattle old ones, and you can't get more rewards. You don't get rewards for the stage clear. They just add the stars to the reward track. So the only reason you'd ever want to use the purples is if you're fighting on the leaderboard and you're going for a different number of points that you might not have. So purples are just rebattles, similar to like in Siege. If you want to make the fight a little bit better, you're not going to get any rewards out of them other than points, and the reds will let you move on. You get 3 a day, so it'll take you 9 days to get through the dungeon if you're doing it every single day. In terms of the strategy I'm using, it is the degenerate strategy of throw as many 9x multiplier champions as I can in there, and then a damage dealer. I did try having this done with just the champions from pool 1, so like adding a full in here. I just can't be bothered at the moment. The damage you could see what the team is doing here, it's not incredible. They are quite tanky in terms of the team. I don't have amazing builds because I'm focusing on player power here. But you can see if any of my champions get to go and do some damage. You know, A1 right there doing that much, not a ton. The A3 here doing a little bit. The Varkos counterattack there. It's doing a decent amount of damage, but it's nothing crazy. It actually looks like Talena is going to be the MVP of damage on these stages because you can just bring out the poison. So you can see with all these provokes, we're eventually going to get the ad down. And I've got all my best damage gear on my account on these champions outside of the Calamitous you saw. So it's not crazy lack of damage. I do have the increased resistant HP to get the player power up, but this isn't bad gear by any means, and we're not getting close to killing these bosses with those 5, so I can't be bothered at the moment. If I get on a fight with the leaderboard, maybe I'm throwing Fullen in there, and we're going for a 46 multiplier, but for now, I'm settling for my 37 multiplier. What I've done is throwing in the best champion I can have with a Crushing Rend. It does a lot more damage, with this being a PvE game mode. You can do a lot of damage with Crushing Rend. These are the bosses that you're going through that you've seen in Doom Tower, Faction Wars, Potion Keeps. So we've got Faction Wars and Potion Keep for the first 2. You got the Minotaur and a really dumbed down version of Shogun for stage 3. You got the Void Keep and the annoying Doom Tower boss that wants you to have a shield that you can never have. We got Iron Twins and the Griffin, so some of these combinations do look a little hard. It'll be interesting to see what the Dark Fae does, but you know, in general, none of them look absolutely insane. It's just Doom Tower, Faction Wars, and Potion Keep bosses. They didn't throw any other wild cards other than the Iron Twins and Shogun, which appears like they appear once or twice throughout there. But overall, the stages have actually been a little bit hard in terms of the damage needed. Like stage 1, I thought easy one-shot. It was a one-shot kind of for most of the ads, but the bosses themselves definitely took more than one shot. So I'll just show the team I've been using. I'm not going to show it for every single stage because that would get a little bit boring, but you'll get the concept from this for what I'm using for the rest of the stages. So 37 multiplier, 900k power. I know it's a 6-star mythical. You could throw in any 6-star champion and they'll deal a decent amount of damage. I've seen some Toshiros in there. I've seen a lot of horses with Crushing Rend and Slayer sets. So Marius is obviously an option. I just don't want to change his blessing from the Soul Reap that I have on at the moment to Crushing Rend, because that'll be 600 gems. I use him in PvP, so I'm going to be using a PvE champion. Going into the fight itself, Calamitous I find quite good at this because he can transform, place the Hex and Weaken, and it does a lot of damage that kills everybody but the bosses. And then when you're able to focus the bosses, it's quite nice. One thing to note here is that these are the old bosses, so poison actually kind of does some damage. That's why you see Talena popping off a bit. But what I'm doing here is just going through the boss. This one right here on the right has a health swap. You can read their skills if you're interested, but 12 turns, exchange remaining HP with the enemy. That's from like the purple boss in Faction Wars Hard, but the way easier version. So what I've been doing is just going through. Varkos does do a little bit of damage once he's able to get his buffs and shatter and stuff up. But Calamitous can transform. And once Calamitous transforms, it's relatively easy. We're going to get a health swap here, but I'm low health anyway. Actually, we just kind of went and killed. So we got 22,000 points. Interesting. I posted the previous version, so let's see how many turns difference we got and how many points we got for that. See if it still lines up with 100. So we will save this result. Go into the leaderboard there. Looking at there, I did 22 turns, and it was 22,156. I'm looking at the old version, and it was 24 turns, 21,917. So it does indeed look like probably under like 30 or 40 turns, maybe 50 turns is the cap, you gain about 100 points per turn. I don't know if under 20 you get even more, but it looks about 100 points per turn, and at a certain point, obviously, it's capped because 113 would make me lose way more points here. So that seems to be the system. It's kind of interesting, I guess. The gear is a straight up power creep of old gear. The only thing is you can't get like mercurial accessories, so will people use them? I guess for PvE, to be seen in PvP. Definitely will on Stone Skin. I don't really like the pool system. I think it sucks. You're incentivizing never skipping anything, especially fusions. They brought out the fusion token system so people could catch up, and then they released this, which is like, hey, don't use your fusion tokens because this fusion that's coming up might be in the pool for 9x, and you need at least 4 or 5 of these champions to be on the leaderboard. So if you care about that stuff, it's really annoying. If you don't, and you're just kind of going for the 3 stars, it's actually very forgiving. I mean, you're talking 5,600 points to clear the reward track, not the 22,000 or something needed to go onto the leaderboard. So new content, it is what it is. I like it, I guess. You get some rewards. The relics kind of seem interesting. The implementation, I think, is like a C+ at best. The system's not very interesting to me. The stages don't seem very interesting to me. The rewards for the leaderboards, I guess, are interesting for me, but if this is a once-a-month leaderboard, then I'm no longer interested. And if this is a once-a-month reward track, again, I'm no longer interested because I can't really farm this. It takes me 9 days. I finish it, and it seems like the strategy is never going to change other than throw in the best multipliers I can and then a damage champion. So to be seen as we get to the later stages. New content is new content, but right now I'm feeling that it's just kind of average, decent for players earning rewards. Those are my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments. Do you have any, hype for this game mode? Do you see anything super cool about it that I might be missing? Do you like the pool system and the multipliers, especially like the 9x and 1.5? The gap seems so high that you would just never use the secondary pool, I guess. But yeah, let me know if you like the video. Leave a like. If you really like the video, consider subscribing to the channel. I've been Imager, and I'll see you next time.